The lecture 4 is diode applications, where we will be seeing the rectifiers. Okay. So the rectifier is nothing but rectification is the process of converting AC voltage into the DC voltage. So we need this rectification process in converting AC to DC. Particularly, this block is used in DC regulated power supply. Okay, regulated power supply is the purpose of regulated power supply is to convert AC to DC, so that a constant DC voltage of required voltage will be produced. So in the process of converting AC to DC, we come across some blocks like transformer, rectifier, filter, and voltage regulator. So in all these blocks of regulated power supply, so the rectifier is the most important block, which initially converts an AC voltage into a pulsating DC voltage. Okay, so the process of converting AC voltage into DC voltage is called rectification, and this particular rectifier is used in the regulated power supply. And the block diagram of a DC regulated power supply, in short we call it as RPS. So it consists of a step down transformer, then rectifier, then filter, then the last part of the block diagram will be voltage regulator. After this voltage regulator, we will be connecting the load. Okay, so these are all the blocks present in the regulated power supply. So the purpose of regulated power supply is to convert AC to DC, so that so the DC can be applied to any electronic circuits that are required. So the DC can be 5 volts or 9 volts, 12 volts or so. So that is the purpose of DC regulated power supply. Next, an ideal regulated power supply is an electronic circuit designed to provide a predetermined DC voltage V0, which is independent of load current and variations in the input voltage and temperature. Okay, so here what is that we are seeing is regulated power supply is nothing but it converts AC to DC. So when the circuit is converting AC to DC, so predetermined DC voltage will get V0 at the output of the load resistor. That voltage which we are getting at the output, it should be independent of load current and the variations in the input voltage and temperature. That means so the output voltage should be independent of the load current, that is nothing but IL. Then it should be independent of the input voltage VI and the temperature. So if any one of these three variables, IL, that is load current, input voltage VI, input voltage here nothing but AC voltage, and T is nothing but temperature. So if any one of these three parameters, or if two or all of these parameters changes, then the output voltage should remain constant. That's what we call it as output voltage should be independent of all these three particular variables. Then only we can say that that is an ideal voltage regulator or ideal regulated power supply. Okay, so ideal regulated power supply is an electronic circuit consisting of all these blocks: transformer, rectifier, filter, and regulator, and it should be designed in such a way that a predetermined DC output voltage is obtained from this circuit, and that voltage should be independent of the load current, input voltage, and temperature. If temperature increases, then also the output voltage should remain constant, same. And if load current varies, also the output voltage should remain same. And if input voltage varies, also the output voltage should remain same. That's what is the purpose of designing a regulated power supply. So the regulated power supply consists of 4 blocks. Already we have seen. They are transformer. First block is transformer. To the input of the transformer, the primary winding of the transformer, we will be applying the AC supply. The AC supply is 230 volts, 50 Hz. So that AC mains we connect it to the primary of the transformer, and the secondary of the transformer is connected to the rectifier circuit. So this transformer is a step down transformer which converts a high voltage into a low voltage. So here high voltage which is applied at the primary of the transformer is 230 volts. So 230 volts is very high. Suppose if you want to convert the AC to DC, DC required voltage is suppose 5 volts. Then initially we have to step down the a high voltage of 230 volts based upon the number of turns of the transformer is having. So that you will be getting some low voltage. Thereby, that low voltage we convert it into DC and so on in the further steps. Okay. So the first block is transformer, which we call it as a step down transformer. Step down transformer, nothing but the number of turns in the secondary winding are less than the number of turns in the primary winding. Okay, so then the high voltage which is applied at the primary winding is converted to low voltage obtained at the secondary winding. So that is the purpose of the step down transformer, conversion of high voltage to low voltage because of the change in the turns ratio. Now once this low voltage AC voltage is obtained at the secondary of the transformer, that voltage we give it to as an input to the rectifier circuit. So rectifier circuit consists of a diodes. Rectifier circuit consists of diodes. So diode is acting like a rectifier. You already know the diode operation, forward bias and reverse bias operation of the diode. For positive cycle of the input, the diode will be switched on when it is forward biased. For negative cycles of the input, the diode is reverse biased and switched off. So it allows the diode allows the flow of current only in one direction. So that property of flowing the current in one direction is used as a rectifier circuit. So the diodes will be used in the rectifier circuit. If there is a one diode is there, then we call that as a half wave rectifier. If there are two diodes we use, then that we call it as a full wave rectifier with center tapped transformer. If we use four diodes, then we call that as a bridge rectifier. So based on the number of diodes we use in the rectifier circuit, the rectifiers are classified into three types: half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier with center tapped transformer, and the third one is the bridge rectifier. In half wave rectifier, we use only one diode. In full wave rectifier with center tapped transformer, we use two diodes. In bridge rectifier, we use four diodes. So the purpose of this rectifier is already I told. It allows the flow of current only in one direction. But the input applied to the rectifier circuit is two directions. It is a bidirectional signal. Bidirectional signal, nothing but sine waveform, which is having its magnitude in the positive direction as well as in the negative direction. So it is a symmetrical waveform. Sine wave is a symmetrical waveform. AC signal is a symmetrical waveform, which is having both directions. It is having the amplitude in its positive direction and negative direction, and it is alternately changing these polarities, positive and negative. That's why it is called alternating current or AC voltage. Okay, so this signal AC voltage is also called as bidirectional. Bidirectional, nothing but it is having its amplitudes in positive direction and negative direction, and it is alternately changing its direction: positive, negative, and so on. So that's why this signal we call it as AC signal or AC voltage, or it is also called as bidirectional signal. So when this bidirectional signal is applied to the input of the rectifier, for positive cycles, the diode conducts because it is forward biased, and for negative cycles the diode is reverse biased and it does not conduct. That means only for positive cycles of the input the diode is conducting, and the output of the rectifier will be same as the input of the rectifier, provided the diode is an ideal diode. Output of the rectifier and input of the rectifier both will be same in the positive direction for half wave rectifier if the diodes are ideal. And in the negative cycle of the input, the output will be zero. That means whether you take half wave rectifier or full wave rectifier, the signal will be available only in the positive direction. For example, if you see the waveform here, this is the input of the rectifier, which is full sine waveform, bidirectional signal taking positive and negative directions. But if you see the output of the full rectifier, so we have got only the sine waveform in the positive direction. So we don't have any waveform in the negative direction. So when we compare these two, the input is a bidirectional, the output of the rectifier is a unidirectional. Unidirectional. So unidirectional, nothing but it is having only one direction, that is positive direction. Negative direction waveforms are completely eliminated. So this we call it as this particular waveform unidirectional. We call it as pulsating DC. It is not pure DC. Pure DC should be a straight line parallel to the x-axis, depending upon the required voltage, 5 volts, 10 volts, or so. But it is not a straight line which is not dependent on the time, but it is varying with time. Therefore, we call it as a pulsating DC. So, rectifier converts bidirectional signal into unidirectional signal, or rectifier converts AC voltage into pulsating DC voltage. Okay, so purpose of each and every block you should understand. The purpose of the transformer is it converts a high voltage AC signal into low voltage AC signal, depending upon the number of turns that are present in primary winding and secondary winding. Okay, now the purpose of transformer is to convert high voltage AC signal into low voltage AC signal, and this low voltage AC signal is applied to the rectifier. The purpose of the rectifier is to convert AC signal into pulsating DC. Pulsating DC means it does not contain negative cycles. All positive cycles are available. Therefore, we call that as unidirectional signal or pulsating DC. So, rectifier converts a bidirectional signal into a unidirectional signal, or AC voltage into pulsating DC voltage. Now, this pulsating DC voltage will be acting like an input to the filter. So, filter is the one which eliminates the AC content present in the input. Filter is nothing but what which suppresses something and which allows to flow something else. Okay, filter is something like which will be suppressing or which does not allow to flow some portion of the input, and the other portion of the input will be allowed to flow. So the input of this filter is contains both AC as well as DC. So this filter will block AC and allows DC to pass through. So in that process, it is eliminating the ripples present in the output. So ripples nothing but AC content. AC portion of the entire AC plus DC will be removed. AC portion will be reduced and DC portion will be passed through. So that way, this pulsating DC is converted into a DC signal which has got some ripples, but most of the AC is eliminated. So that waveform will look like this. Now, this particular waveform, which has got some small AC content in the output of the filter, whichever is present, that will be completely eliminated by passing through a regulator circuit. So here filter consists of filters can be a capacitor filter or inductor filter, capacitor filter, or combinations of both. We call it them as LC filter or CLC filter. So there are different types of filters are available. The elements that are present in the filter circuits are inductors and capacitors. Only inductor can be used as a filter circuit. Only capacitor can be used as a filter circuit, or combinations of inductor and capacitor like LC or CLC. That means the shape of the circuit can be L shaped with the inductor and parallel with the capacitor. Inductor is in series and capacitor is in parallel, or it can be in the CLC fashion. CLC fashion nothing but pi shape. So capacitor will be there and inductor will be there and another capacitor will be there. So these are the different types of filter circuits: inductor filter, capacitor filter, LC filter, CLC filter. So filter contains inductors and capacitors. Then output of this filter circuit is given to the regulator circuit. Regulator circuit consists of a Zener diode. So Zener diode will act like a voltage regulator, which will be maintaining output voltage as a constant. So output voltage will be maintained constant, so that across the load resistance, suppose if you connected the output of the regulator, you connect a load resistance RL, then across that load resistance you will be getting a constant output voltage, which we call it as a V naught. So that V naught now should be independent of these three parameters: IL, VI, and T. So in the process of converting this AC at the input to the DC at the output, so there are so many blocks that are available: transformer, rectifier, filter, regulator. So all these things are converting a AC signal which is of sine wave shape into a straight line shape, which is a DC signal. So in this process, these all blocks are required: transformer, rectifier, filter, and regulator. Now we will be discussing about each and every block in detail. So we'll just discuss about the transformer. what are the different types of transformers. Step down transformer particularly we'll take, and we'll see some transformation ratios and so on. Then we'll see the different types of rectifiers and so on. Then filters, there are 4 types of filters are there, but we'll see only one type of filter, capacitor filter, in detail, and we'll see how that capacitor filter is eliminating the ripples present in the output of the rectifier circuit. Then we'll see in the regulator, Zener diode. What is Zener diode actually? What are its VI characteristics? How this Zener diode is used as a voltage regulator. So all those things we will see in our next coming lectures. Okay, next slide. So what is the rectifier? Before going to rectifier, we'll see the transformer. So transformer is a static device which transfers the energy from primary winding to secondary winding through the mutual induction principle without changing the frequency. So I already told that transformer consists of 2 windings, primary winding and secondary winding, and it transfers energy from primary winding to the secondary winding through the mutual induction principle. And this input amplitude and output amplitudes will be different, but the frequency will be same without changing the frequency. The input frequency in this case is 50 Hz. Output of the transformer, the frequency also will be 50 Hz. That means transformer will without changing the frequency, it is just converting or transforming energy from primary winding to the secondary winding. Okay. So now in this process, the transformer is able to transfer voltage, and voltage, or it will be transferring current or impedance. That means the input, the primary and secondary voltages, and primary and secondary currents, primary winding and secondary winding impedances, how these things are changing, that are represented by these formulae. Voltage transformation ratio. Voltage transformation ratio means if the voltage in the primary winding across the primary winding is V1, if the voltage across the secondary winding is V2, then how these two are related in terms of turns ratio. Turns ratio is N2 and N1. A number of turns in the primary winding are N1, number of turns in the secondary winding are N2. Then how these turns, number of turns in primary and secondary are related to the voltages at the primary and secondary. So voltage transformation ratio, if you take voltage is directly proportional to the number of turns. So V1 V2 by V1 is equal to N2 by N1. That means the voltage in the secondary winding to the voltage in the primary winding is equal to number of turns in the secondary winding to the number of turns in the primary winding. So this is very, very important formula when we are calculating the output voltage of the transformer given the input voltage of the transformer and the turns ratio. Okay, so this the transformer that is used here in the regulated power supply is a step down transformer. So always the number of turns in the secondary will be less than the number of turns in the primary. Suppose if the turns ratio is given as 1:5 or 5:1, then whichever we see that is less, that will be the turns in the secondary winding, the other will be the turns in the primary winding. Okay, so V2 by V1 is equal to N2 by N1 is the voltage transformation ratio. Then current transformation ratio is I2 by I1 is equal to N1 by N2. So current is inversely related to the turns. So I2 by I1 is equal to N1 by N2. Then impedance transformation ratio is by applying Ohm's law in about 2 equations. We can get it as ZL is the load impedance in the secondary winding, Zin is the input impedance in the primary winding. So ZL by Zin is equal to N2 by N1 whole square. So these are all the voltage transformation ratio, current transformation ratio, impedance transformation ratio. That means it is showing the relationship between primary winding and secondary winding in terms of its voltages, currents, and impedances. All these three are represented in terms of number of turns in the primary winding and number of turns in the secondary winding. Okay, so that is all about transformer. Next, coming to the rectifier, second block of the regulated power supply. Rectifier is the device which offers a low resistance path to the current in one direction, low resistance to the current in one direction, and high resistance to the current in the opposite direction. So the low resistance nothing but forward biased, high resistance nothing but reverse biased. So it acts like almost, if you take ideal diode, it acts like a short circuit in one direction, open circuit in the other direction. For positive circuit, positive inputs, it is short circuit, so that the same will be passed through the rectifier. And for negative voltages, it will be reverse biased, so that it will not be allowed to pass because it is a high resistance path or open circuit. So that is what is actually the behavior of the diode. Diode is forward biased is low resistance, reverse biased is high resistance. So such device which will be having this property, low resistance to the current in one direction, high resistance to the current in opposite direction, that device is called as rectifier. So here diode is a rectifier. Okay, so diode has such property. So any electrical device which offers a low resistance to the current in one direction but a high resistance to the current in opposite direction is called a rectifier. So such diode here is a diode. So therefore such device is a diode. So that's why diode is acting like a rectifier. So the rectifiers can be classified as two types: half wave rectifier and full wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier nothing but what? For full cycle of the input, positive and negative sine wave form. If you take full cycle, positive and negative, then you will be getting a half wave only. So if you take full positive and negative, negative will not be passed because of high resistance path. Only positive will be existing. So positive cycle will be there, negative cycle will become zero. Then what we call that output as just half wave is reflected in the output out of the full wave in the input. Full sine for full sine waveform in the input, you will be getting only half sine waveform in the output. That's why it is called as half wave rectifier. What happened to the other half, negative portion? It is making output as zero because the resistance is high and current will be zero during the high resistance path. Current will be zero. Therefore, only for full sine waveform, half sine waveform only you will be getting in the output. That's why that we call it as a half wave rectifier. Next, full wave rectifier, nothing but there are again two types are there: center tapped full wave rectifier and bridge rectifier. Full wave rectifier, nothing but what? For full cycle of the input, positive and negative directions, the output will be positive as it is, but negative will be transformed into the positive direction. Therefore, output will also be full wave, but both cycles in the positive direction. So half wave rectifier will be, suppose if you take the input is Vi, if it is full sine waveform, then that will be converted into, through an half wave rectifier, if you pass this input, that will be converted into a half sine waveform. And the other portion of the sine form, suppose if you take one cycle 0 to 2 pi, 0 to pi, pi to 2 pi, this is full cycle, positive and negative. Output will be 0 to pi will be as it is, positive is same as positive output because diode is forward biased. Negative cycle will become 0, from 0 pi to 2 pi it will become 0. So this is a half wave rectified output. Only half cycle will be there compared with input. But if you come to full wave rectifier, if you take whether it is center tapped full wave rectifier or bridge rectifier, these two are different in terms of construction. Full wave rectifier with center tapped transformer will have two diodes, whereas bridge rectifier will not have a center tapped transformer but uses four diodes. But the output of both these circuits will be same. That is full wave only. So if you take the input is Vi is full sine waveform from 0 to pi, pi to 2 pi, both in positive direction, negative direction. Then when you pass this circuit, this input signal through a full wave rectifier, either center tapped full wave rectifier or bridge rectifier, you will be getting the output V naught as, for positive cycle of the input, you will be getting positive cycle only as it is between 0 to pi. From pi to 2 pi, actually the input is negative, but negative is also converted into positive from pi to 2 pi. So therefore, output is also full waveform you are getting. So 0 to pi is a sine waveform, pi to 2 pi is also sine waveform, but instead of negative, it is converted into the positive. So therefore, this type of circuit we call it as a full wave rectifier. So if the output is also full sine waveform in both in positive directions, both cycles being in positive directions, then we call it as a full wave rectifier. In a half wave rectifier, half cycle only will be appearing in the output, the other half cycle will become zero. That's why it is called as half wave rectifier. Okay, so these are all the classifications of rectifiers: half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier. Full wave rectifier has got a center tapped full wave rectifier and bridge rectifier. Center tapped full wave rectifier will be having center tapped transformer. Center tapped transformer means the secondary winding, the middle of the secondary winding is connected to ground, so that the secondary winding is converted into two windings. Each winding is provided with one diode, so that one diode will be taking care of positive cycle, the other diode will be taking care of negative cycle, so that both diodes will conduct for the half of cycles each, so that you across the load you will be getting the full cycle. Whereas bridge rectifier does not contain center tap transformer. Instead, it contains four diodes, where two diodes will be on at a time, and the other two diodes will be off, and it changes accordingly to different half waves of the inputs, positive and negatives, so that positive will be appearing positive, negative will be again transformed to positive. So the diodes will now make this process of converting negative to positive. The second half cycle also will be conducting. Therefore, that will be called as bridge rectifier. So bridge rectifier consists of four diodes. Center tapped full wave rectifier consists of two diodes, but the transformer is a center tapped transformer, where secondary winding is converted into two portions by connecting the middle of the secondary winding to the ground. Okay, that we will see how the construction is there and all. Now this classification, half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier. Now we will go deep into half wave rectifier, and we will see what is a half wave rectifier, what is the circuit diagram, its operation, and characteristics. Okay. Now half wave rectifier. A half wave rectifier is one which converts AC voltage into a pulsating voltage using only one half cycle of the applied AC voltage. So now if you see, the input is AC signal with positive cycle, negative cycle alternately changing, and this is the transformer, and you have got a diode and a load resistor. Okay. Now what happens here? Now the current I in the diode, so in the diode or in the load resistance, because diode and load resistor both are connected in series, whatever the current that is flowing in the diode, the same current will be flowing in the load resistor also. Okay, is given by, now this the current that is flowing in the diode depends upon the operation of the diode, whether it is forward biased or reverse biased, and that forward bias and reverse bias of the diode depends on the applied voltage, what magnitudes of the voltage that we are applying. So depending upon that, this current will be changing. Now from 0 to pi, this is 0, this is pi, and 2 pi. If you take one cycle, the same cycle repeats. So therefore, we'll take the operation from 0 to 2 pi, so that from 2 pi to 3 pi, and 2 pi to 3 pi, 4 pi, and so on also will be same. Now 0 to 2 pi, 0 to pi is positive cycle, pi to 2 pi is negative cycle. Now what happens? This voltage is applied at the primary winding. At the secondary winding, what happens? You will be getting the same thing, but the amplitudes will be less. So this is positive, this is negative. So this is what is your Vi. So this is again 0 to pi, pi to 2 pi. Okay, this waveform will be appearing across the secondary winding. So secondary winding and primary winding both are sinusoidal signals only, AC signal only, but secondary winding amplitude will be less, and the peak value of that we call it as a Vm. Plus Vm on the positive side, minus Vm on the negative side. So the peak value of the sine waveform in the positive side is Vm plus Vm, negative side is minus Vm. So because it is symmetrical waveform, either positive peak or negative peak, both will be same, Vm, Vm, but positive side the polarity is plus, negative side the polarity is minus, but the peak values in both the sides will be same because it is a symmetric waveform. So the peak value of the sine waveform is Vm, and it is an AC signal which is alternately changing its direction, positive and negative, for one cycle. So 0 to pi will be positive, pi to 2 pi is negative. That is appearing as input to your diode now. Now the same current is expressed like this, current in the diode. I is equal to Im into sine omega t. Im into any sine waveform will be represented like this. Im into sine omega t means it is a sine waveform, current is a sine waveform, with the peak value is Im. Similarly, voltage, if you want to represent, V is equal to Vm sine omega t. Vm is the peak value of the sine waveform, and the frequency of that one will be omega, angular frequency is omega. So Im sine omega t for, so sine waveform you will be getting for 0 less than or equal to omega t less than or equal to pi. That means from 0 to pi, you will be getting sine waveform because the diode is forward biased. So if the input is a positive cycle, for positive cycle of the input, what happens? Positive voltages, anode. I already told when the diode will be forward biased. If the anode voltage is greater than the cathode voltage, then the diode is said to be forward biased. Here, anode is connected to the positive terminal, the positive applied with positive voltage. So therefore, this diode is in the forward direction. So forward biased, nothing but what you will be getting the short circuit. Short circuit means you will be having a current. That current is also a sinusoidal current, but the amplitude of that current will be Im. Peak value is Im, and it is a sine waveform. Therefore, Im sin omega t. So 0 to pi is Im sin omega t. Next, when pi to 2 pi, what is the input of pi to 2 pi? It is negative. For negative is applied to the anode of the diode. This is the anode of the diode. Then what happens? It will be reverse biased. If it is reverse biased, the diode is open circuit. Then what is the current that will be flowing in the open circuit? It will be 0. So I is equal to 0 for pi less than or equal to omega t less than or equal to 2 pi. That means though the input is full sine waveform, input voltage is full sine waveform, positive direction and negative direction. 0 to pi is positive, pi to 2 pi is negative. That waveform, if you apply to the input of the diode, then for positive directions, the diode is short circuit, forward biased. Therefore, current will flow. How much current it will be flowing is I is equal to Im sin omega t. Im is the peak value of the current. Vm is the peak value of the voltage. Now we have to calculate Im in terms of Vm by using Ohm's law. So where Im is equal to Vm by resistance, right? That is Ohm's law. So the voltage, peak voltage is Vm, peak current is Im. Then what happens? Because this diode is short circuit, what is the equivalent resistance? Diode is short circuit and its internal resistance will be the resistance of the diode, that is represented by RF, forward resistance of the diode. So the diode resistance is RF and the load resistance is RL. Both will be in the series. Therefore, the equivalent resistance in the path where the current is flowing is RF plus RL. Then by applying the Ohm's law, Im is equal to Vm divided by Rf plus RL. So that is what is the relationship between Im and Vm. So when the current is flowing, the current is related in terms of the input voltage. Im is equal to Vm divided by Rf plus RL. When the diode is reverse biased, the current will be 0 between pi to 2 pi. When the diode is forward biased, the current is Im sin omega t between 0 to pi, where Im is equal to Vm, the applied input voltage, peak voltage is Vm, divided by the diode is short circuit. Therefore, the current will be flowing. Current is flowing in two elements, diode and load resistor. Both are connected in series. The diode, its internal resistance is the forward resistance of the diode represented by Rf. Okay, plus the resistance here is load resistance, capital RL. So we can even write this RF as small rf also, because it is an AC current that will be flowing in the circuit. AC is also present in that circuit. Therefore, we can even write this as small rf plus capital RL. So the small rf is your dynamic forward resistance, RF. Okay. So Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL is the relationship between Im and Vm. So this is what is the input and output of the rectifier. So same thing is expressed in the operation here. First we will see positive cycle. For the positive half cycle of the input AC signal, the diode D is forward biased and hence it conducts. So what happens? Forward half cycle, nothing but what? Positive half cycle is nothing but it is a positive voltage from 0 to pi. So for all the positive voltage from 0 to pi, the diode D is on because it is forward biased. Hence it conducts. So the diode is on. Therefore, I have just made that as an on switch. Okay, but this may be having its internal resistance. We can even represent that with a small resistance whose resistance value is RF. Okay, so this is on and its internal resistance is RF. Then the current will be flowing in the resistor, both the resistors in this loop. Therefore, you will be getting the output voltage which is same as the input voltage, because it is a short circuit. Here voltage is V naught. Here the voltage is Vi. Because it is short circuit, output voltage and input voltage both are same ideally. But because of that forward resistance is there, some drop may be there, that we will see now in the next slide. Okay, so assume that it is an ideal, then output and input are same. Then you will be getting the output voltage in sine waveform, positive direction. Okay. Now the current flow in the circuit and there is a voltage drop across RL. The waveform of the diode current or load current is shown like this. So this voltage I have seen. If you want to draw the current IL, then IL also will be sine waveform with a peak value as IM. Okay. So if you want the load current at the output, then the load current will be IL. IL is also a sine waveform. Okay. But the peak value of that one will be Im. But you should know what is the relationship between Im and Vm. Im is equal to Vm by RL if the diode is ideal. Okay, ideal. If the diode is practical, then it will be having its internal resistance. Therefore, it will become Vm by Rf plus RL for a practical diode or real diode. Okay. So Im is equal to Vm by RL if the diode is ideal diode. Ideal diode does not have forward resistance. Rf is equal to 0. If it is a practical diode, then Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. The diode internal resistance also we have to consider, that is in series with the load resistance RL. So therefore Vm by Rf plus RL will be the relationship between Im and Vm. Okay. So that is the positive cycle. Next, coming to the negative half cycle, for the negative half cycle of the input, the diode D is reverse biased and hence it does not conduct. Reverse biased means it does not conduct. Reverse biased diode is nothing but what? It is open circuit. See, it is open circuit. There is no connection. So open circuit, the current will be 0. If the current is 0, what will be the voltage? V is equal to I into R. So I into R, I is 0, then V is also 0. So this portion of the waveform for the negative cycle, you will be getting the output voltage 0. Even the current also is 0. If you take IL also will be 0. So this will be Im for positive cycle. For negative cycle, it will be 0. Okay. So that is for the negative half cycle. Next, the overall waveforms will be like this. So input voltage is like this. Vm is the peak value. This is the peak value with positive cycle, negative cycle, alternately changing its states. And the DC value of this one is 0 because the average value will be the DC level. The DC value is 0. And when we are coming to the output waveform, for positive cycle, you will be getting the waveform. For negative cycle, it will be 0. Again, positive cycle, because in the positive cycle you are getting here because the diode is on. You are getting on means same short circuit. Output is same as input. But here for the from pi to 2 pi, the diode is off. Off nothing but what? Whatever may be the input. Input is negative, but output will be 0. So first half cycle is diode on. Second half cycle is diode off. Then again diode is on. Again diode will be off, and so on. And so on. It will be like this. So all positive cycles diode is on. All negative cycles diode is off. Off means the voltage will be 0, current is also 0, therefore we are not representing any waveform. Whereas on means output and input both are same, therefore I am representing output is same as input. Okay. Now coming to this one, if the diode is ideal, then you will be getting like this. But if the diode is practical, what happens? Because of the potential barrier existing across the junction, there will be a cut-in voltage that we need to apply across the junction so that it cancels the barrier potential. So for silicon diode, how much is the barrier potential? 0.7 volts. Therefore, the cut-in voltage that I have to apply is 0.7 volts. Then only the current conduction starts. Therefore, for a practical diode, if the input voltage is Vm, then your output voltage will be Vm minus 0.7, because till 0.7 it does not conduct. Therefore, it will be 0.7 volts less compared with the input voltage. So output and input, if you take for an actual diode, a real diode, or practical diode, there will be some little less amplitude compared with the input voltage. But if you take an ideal diode, both input and output amplitudes will be Vm and Vm. But in the practical case, it will be little less, 0.7 volts less than the input voltage because of the cut-in voltage. Cut-in voltage means till that voltage the diode does not conduct. Okay, so we have to reduce that 0.7 volts from its maximum voltage. So this is about the input and output waveforms of the half wave rectifier. Okay, next, then we'll do the analysis. Now once you know the circuit diagram, then input output waveforms, how the diode is conducting, when it is conducting, all those things. Now we have, but the purpose of this half wave rectifier is to convert AC to pulsating DC. In this process of converting AC to pulsating DC, we have to find out certain parameters which will be deciding the quality of the output that is produced in the half wave rectifier. That means how much of the DC content is there, how much of the AC content is there, what is the efficiency of converting AC to DC, and all those parameters we have to convert, we have to calculate for a half wave rectifier. So these are all the parameters that we have to calculate in the analysis of the half wave rectifier. So those parameters are DC or average output current, DC or average output voltage, RMS or AC, because half wave rectifier is having a, output as pulsating DC. Pulsating DC means it is not pure DC or it is not even pure AC also. So it is a combination of both AC and DC is present in the output of the rectifier. So output of the rectifier is called as pulsating DC. Pulsating DC means it is a combination of both AC as well as DC. So we have to calculate how much DC is present in the output, DC current and DC voltage, and how much AC voltage and AC current is present in the output. So like that you will get four parameters: DC output current, DC output voltage, AC output current, AC output voltage. We represent them as IDC, VDC, IRMS, BRMS, like that. Okay, then we will calculate the efficiency, rectifier efficiency. Rectifier efficiency means the rectifier is converting AC signal into DC signal. So how much of the power, AC input power, is converted into the DC output power? So it is the ratio of output DC power to the input AC power. So that efficiency we have to calculate, which is the ratio of output DC power to the. Then calculate the other parameter is ripple factor. Ripple factor is nothing but it is the ratio of output AC, RMS value of the AC component in the output divided by the DC in the output. So how much is the ripple or AC content present in the output, which is a combination of AC plus DC? How much of the AC content is present, that we have to calculate as a ripple factor. So then we have to calculate transformer utilization factor. So here transformer is used, right? Transformer. So how this transformer is utilized in the process of converting AC to pulsating DC? So what is the role of the transformer in converting AC to pulsating DC? So how much is that utilization of the transformer? It is represented by a factor called transformer utilization factor. Then we'll calculate other two parameters, which we call it as a form factor and peak factor. Okay. So total 9 parameters are there. 9 parameters are there. So these 9 parameters we have to calculate for half wave rectifier as well as full wave rectifier with center tap transformer as well as for bridge rectifier. So this is very important. All these parameters we have to calculate now, take the definition of them and derive it for half wave rectifier. And the same formula will be used when we are solving the problems on the half wave rectifier. And most of these things will be similar. Simple procedure, similar procedure we have to follow for the full wave rectifiers also. Okay, so we'll go step by step now. All these 9 steps, DC or average output load current will start calculating now. Okay, so I hope up to now you have understood everything. We have just seen the block diagram of regulated power supply. Then each block, what actually they are, we are seeing. First we have seen the transformer, then we have come to rectifier. So the rectifiers are again different types are there. What is rectifier? We have seen different types of rectifiers we have seen. Then half wave rectifier operation we have seen the circuit diagram. Then operation for positive half cycle, how it behaves, for negative half cycle of the input, how it behaves. Then what will be the output produced for positive cycle and negative cycle, and what are the input and output waveforms completely we have seen. If the diode is ideal diode, how the output signal will be, output waveform will be. If the diode is a real diode, how the output waveform will be. And if the diode is ideal diode, there will not be any internal resistance. Then Im is equal to Vm by RL. We have to take, if the diode is a practical diode whose internal resistance is Rf, then Rf and RL both will be in series. Therefore, we have to take the relationship between Im and Vm as Im is equal to Vm divided by Rf plus RL. Suppose if you want, in this case, we have taken Im is equal to Vm by RL, Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. Suppose if you want to take the secondary resistance also, secondary winding resistance also, this is secondary, this is the diode, this is your load resistance. Okay, so and this is your primary winding. This is your input voltage. Okay, input AC. Now, these, if you see the current in the circuit, so the internal resistance of the diode is Rf, the load resistance is RL, and if you take the internal resistance of the secondary winding also, that we call it as say Rs. Okay, Rs. Then all these three we have to take. Then your Im will be, Im is equal to Vm divided by Rs plus Rf plus RL. That means if you consider the secondary resistance also, secondary winding internal resistance also, then all the three will be in series. If you ignore this secondary resistance, internal winding of the secondary winding internal resistance, Rs, and if you ignore this Rf also, then it will be simply Vm by RL. Im is equal to Vm by RL if Rs and Rf are neglected. And if Rs only is neglected, then Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. And if all the three are considered, then Im is equal to Vm by Rs plus Rf plus RL. So why I am adding all these things, Rs plus Rf plus RL? Because all these three elements are in series in a single loop. So therefore, Im is equal to Vm by Rs plus Rf plus RL. Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. When I am writing just Rf plus RL, what about Rs? Rs is ignored, or its value is very, very small, therefore neglected, or it might not be given in the problem. Suppose if in the problem it is given the secondary winding, the resistance is so and so, then the forward resistance of the diode is so and so, load resistance is so and so, then you have to take the formula as Im is equal to Vm by Rs plus Rf plus RL. If the values of Rs and Rf are not given, directly you take Im is equal to Vm by RL. If the value of resistance is given, diode resistance is given and load resistance is given, then you can ignore Rs value and take simply Vm by Rf plus RL. But you should know, if all these three are there in series, then its equivalent resistance is Rs plus Rf plus RL. Then the relationship between Im and Vm is Im is equal to Vm by Rs plus Rf plus RL. Okay. So now we'll start doing the derivations one by one. First one we'll take DC average resistance, DC or average resistance. Before that, we should just see the same thing which was already covered. The input voltage is Vi is equal to Vm sin omega t. If the input voltage, I am applying a sinusoidal voltage to the rectifier, that sinusoidal voltage is represented by Vi is equal to Vm sin omega t, where Vm is the maximum value of the sinusoidal voltage and omega is the angular frequency. Let the diode be idealized. Diode be idealized to a piecewise linear approximation with resistance Rf in the forward direction, that is on state, and Rr is the infinity in the reverse direction, that is off state. That means if the diode is on, we can take the diode resistance as Rf, and it is on means its reverse resistance will be infinity. Therefore, we will not be taking any Rr. So only forward direction will take the internal resistance as Rf. Now the current I in the diode or in the load resistance will be I is equal to Im sin omega t from 0 to pi. This is for half wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier I is equal to Im sin omega t for 0 to pi, and I is equal to 0 from pi to 2 pi. So in the first half cycle from 0 to 2 pi, diode is on. Okay. Therefore, you are getting current. In the second cycle from pi to 2 pi, diode is off. Therefore, the current is 0. So that is a thing. That is the equation for the current. So current is equal to Im sin omega t because the diode is on. Current is 0 from pi to 2 pi. Therefore, diode is off. And in this case, Im is there, right? Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. So I have taken the internal resistance of the diode as Rf. That is the relationship. This already we have seen. Now we'll go with the derivation of DC or average voltage, average load current. So DC or average, both are same. DC is nothing but average. So DC or average output current or load current, both are same, because I am taking the output across the load resistance. Load resistance here is RL. So output current or load current are same. DC or AC average, both are same. Average or DC, both are same. Mean also we can call mean output load current also is same. Mean, average, DC all will be same, and they are represented as IDC or I average, IAV. Okay, so average or DC output current IDC is given by. Now how do we calculate this output DC current? Output DC current. So this output DC current will be taken like the the entire for the entire cycle, one cycle is nothing but what, 0 to 2 pi. So the area under one cycle, we have to take it and calculate. So IDC is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I into d omega t. I is the current that will be flowing in the output, and IDC is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I into d omega t. So the average is nothing but it is the calculation of area under one cycle of the curve. So one cycle is nothing but what, one full cycle, it is 0 to 2 pi. So 0 to 2 pi if you take, then the average voltage will be in 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi into I d omega t. So the waveform will be, output waveform will be like this. So 0 to pi, pi to 2 pi, okay, omega t. This is your current is this is Im, this is your IL. Okay, so now IDC is equal to for one cycle as nothing but what, this completely we have to take 0 to 2 pi. So for one cycle, so the area will be integral 0 to 2 pi I d omega t by 2 pi. So I will be taking IL is nothing but we have got from 0 to pi is Im sin omega t, from pi to 2 pi is 0. Therefore I have to separate those integrals from 0 to pi and pi to 2 pi. So 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to pi, what is the value of I here? Im sin omega t, because in the previous case we have seen, this is very important, I is equal to Im sin omega t from 0 to pi. From pi to 2 pi it will be 0. So the same thing I am applying, because the integral limits are from 0 to 2 pi, I am dividing the limits from 0 to pi and pi to 2 pi, because for both these limits 0 to pi the current value is different, from pi to 2 pi the current value is different. Therefore I have to divide this integral limits 0 to pi the current value is Im sin omega t, whereas from pi to 2 pi the current value is 0. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. Then after that 1 by 2 pi, this Im is constant, you can take it outside, and integral of sin omega t will be minus cos omega t, and the limits are 0 to pi. And the second term here is integral of 0 d omega t is 0, therefore I'm not taking the second term. Then 1 by 2 pi Im is constant. Now you substitute the limits here. So minus cos omega t in place of omega t you have to substitute it as pi. So minus cos pi means cos pi is equal to minus 1. Therefore minus of minus 1 will be plus 1. Then minus, then again you have got minus. Then cos 0, lower limit if you substitute cos 0 is 1 plus 1. So cos 0 is plus 1, therefore minus is already available, minus 1. So this is 1 minus 2 minus plus, then it will become 2. That 2 and this 2 will cancel. This is equal to 1 by 2 pi into Im into this bracket 1 will be 2. So this 2 and this 2 will cancel. Im by pi if you take 1 by pi value will be 0.318 Im. So this is what is the answer. So IDC is equal to Im by pi, or this is also 0.318 Im. Okay, so that is what is the DC value. So generally DC value is represented as a straight line. So where this particular value will come, the peak value here is Im. So this 0.318 Im, 0.318 Im somewhere you will get here. So you can represent that as a average value. So this is what is your I average. That I average value or IDC value is 0.318 Im. So the dotted line is your average value of that particular waveform. So average value you will get it as a IDC is equal to Im by pi, that is 0.318 Im. Okay. Next, similarly, this is average current. Now we have to calculate average voltage. So to calculate average voltage, you should know the relationship between current and voltage. So I average, V average or VDC, the average or DC output voltage is given by VDC is equal to IDC into RL. IDC already you know Im by pi into RL. Okay, Im by pi into RL. Simply we are not deriving anything similarly what we have done with the current, because already current is calculated. We can just use Ohm's law. VDC is equal to IDC into RL, but IDC already calculated in the previous step as Im by pi into RL. But we know already what is the relationship between Im and Vm, because I want to express VDC in terms of Vm. Okay, VDC in terms of Vm, then we get Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. We already know, since this is Im is equal to Vm divided by Rf plus RL. Very, very important relationship between Im and Vm. Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. So same way here, in place of Im, if I replace Vm RL divided by pi into Rf plus RL. Okay. Then if RL is very much greater than Rf, if RL is very much greater than Rf, then your VDC will become Vm by pi. Because if it is very much larger, this value, just we can ignore this value, then this RL and RL will cancel, then the remaining portion will be Vm by pi. So VDC is equal to Vm by pi, that is equal to 0.318 times of Vm. Okay. So IDC is Im by pi, VDC is Vm by pi. Okay, that is a very, very important formula you have to remember. IDC for half wave rectifier, IDC is Im by pi, VDC is Vm by pi. Next, third parameter, the value of the RMS output current is given by RMS means root mean square. So root mean square of the current. Root mean square of the current is, root is nothing but 1 by 2, whole power of 1 by 2. We have to take mean square. Mean square means that is the average value. Average value of the current is squared. So average value of the current squared nothing but what? Average is nothing but 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I d omega t. That I value we have to square it. So I square we will take it as 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I square d of omega t whole power of 1 by 2. Okay, that's what we call it as RMS, root mean square. Therefore, the formula for IRMS is 1 by, for this also we will take it for one complete cycle. One complete cycle is always 0 to 2 pi. So the base will be 1 by 2 pi. The base will be 2 pi. That is 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I square d of omega t whole power of 1 by 2. This is the formula. Okay, very, very important formula for IRMS. For IDC is 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I d of omega t. But whereas IRMS is 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I square d omega t whole power of 1 by 2. Okay. So these are the two important formula you have to remember. IDC is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi I d of omega t, whereas IRMS is this one. IRMS is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral 0 to 2 pi, okay, I square d of omega t, and the entire thing will be square root, or we can put overall whole power of 1 by 2, either of this. Okay. Now what is I again? You know, you have to limit, you have to separate the limits, divide the limits from 0 to 2 pi. It is there. We have to write 0 to pi separately, pi to 2 pi separately, because the value of I will be different from 0 to 2 pi and pi to 2 pi. I is equal to Im sin omega t from 0 to pi. So 0 to pi, if you take, it will be I is equal to Im sin omega t, but its square is there. Therefore, Im square sin square omega t. But whereas in case of pi to 2 pi, the value of I is equal to 0. I square will also be 0. So the second term will be 0. First term, if you take 1 by 2 pi, Im square, if you take outside, Im square by 2 pi, okay, then integral 0 to pi sin square omega t can be written as 1 minus cos omega t by 2 into d of omega t and whole power of 1 by 2. So sine square omega t can be written as 1 minus cos omega t by 2. Now, if you integrate this, before integrating, you take the denominator 2 because it is a constant outside, then it will become 4 pi, im square by 4 pi, im square by 4 pi integral of 1 minus cos omega t. 1 minus cos of integral of 1 d omega t will be omega t minus integral of cos omega t will be sine omega t. So omega t minus sine omega t with integral limits as 0 to pi and whole power of 1 by 2 again, that is common. Now if you substitute the upper limit and lower limit in that omega t minus sine omega t, here you have to substitute the upper limit and lower limits pi and 0, then it will become pi minus sine pi, pi minus sine pi minus again 0 minus sine pi, minus if you multiply inside minus 0 minus 2 minus plus, so 0 plus minus 0 plus sine 0. So if you substitute the upper limit and lower limit, it will be pi minus sine pi. This is sine pi. Okay, so pi minus sine pi minus 0 plus sine 0 whole power of 1 by 2. Then if you substitute, this value will be sine pi and sine 0 will be 0. Then pi will be there. Pi and pi will cancel here. Then it will become im square by 4 whole power of 1 by 2. Im square by 4 whole power of 1 by 2 will become im by 2. Okay, so IRMS is equal to im by 2. Very, very important formula. For half wave rectifier, IRMS is equal to im by 2. Just we should know what is I from 0 to pi and from pi to 2 pi. Then just substituting that value and integrating and substituting the upper limits and lower limits, simply you will get it as IRMS is equal to im by 2. Okay, so that is very, very important formula. Now once you got IRMS, if you want to calculate VRMS, then we have to use the Ohm's law again. So VRMS is equal to IRMS into RL. VRMS is equal to IRMS into RL. Simply Ohm's law we have to use. IRMS we already got it as, what is that IRMS we got it as? We can substitute it as im by 2. Im by 2, but im is again what? So this is IRMS is nothing but im by 2. Im by 2 into RL, but im is Vm by Rf plus RL, directly substituted here. Then Vm RL by 2 into Rf plus RL. That is equal to Vm by 2 into 1 plus Rf by RL. If RL is very much greater than Rf, then your RMS will be VRMS is Vm by 2. VRMS is Vm by 2, IRMS is Im by 2. Okay, so these are the two important formulas you have to remember. The RMS values of output half wave rectifier. Next, the fifth parameter. Next, rectifier efficiency. Rectifier efficiency is defined as, already I told, it is the ratio of DC output power. Output is DC. Output is DC for a rectifier. Input is AC. AC input power. Now I will take the ratio of the powers. Okay. Now power, if we want to calculate, already we got the currents and voltages, or you have the relationship between current and load, or you have the relationship between voltage and load, then we can use those power relationships. There are three power relationships are there. Power is equal to voltage into current, or current square into R, or V square by R. So these three relationships are there. So we will use either I square R or V square by R relationship. Once we know the currents and voltages and the load that is present in the circuit, we can easily calculate the power in the circuit, input power as well as output power. Output power is DC power, input power is AC power. So the ratio of DC output power to the AC input power, we call it as efficiency, and it is denoted by eta. Eta is equal to PDC by PAC. That is the definition of the efficiency. PDC by PAC, a ratio of DC output power to the AC input power. Now you know, first we should calculate PDC and PAC, then substitute in this. Just take the ratio. So first, if you calculate PDC, PDC is equal to IDC square into RL. I am using this formula. Okay, P is equal to I square into R relationship. So PDC is equal to IDC square into RL. IDC already we calculated in the first step. IDC is equal to IM by pi. So everywhere we use the previous relationships. Very, very important. Four relationships are IRMS, VRMS, IDC, VDC. These four are very, very important. IDC, VDC, IRMS, VRMS. So if you know the RMS and DC currents and voltages, then any of the other parameters we can easily calculate. Okay. So PDC is equal to IDC square into RL. IDC is equal to IM by pi whole square into RL. So therefore Im square RL by pi square, that you keep it as separately, equation number 1. That means this is the definition. This is definition of the efficiency. In that definition, we have got two terms, numerator and denominator. Numerator is PDC, denominator is PAC. Now I am calculating first numerator. The numerator we got it as PDC is equal to IDC square into RL. IDC already we calculated in the first step as Im by pi. Im by pi whole square into RL. That is equation number 1. Then denominator, if you calculate PAC, PAC is equal to IRMS square into RL plus RF. When I am calculating DC is only across a load resistor. DC is across RL. DC is across RL. DC is across RL. AC is in the loop. In the loop consisting of secondary winding of the transformer, the diode resistance, and the load resistance. All the three we have to take. AC will be flowing in the entire circuit, but DC will be obtained only across the load resistor. So that's why in the first case, PDC is equal to IDC square into RL we have taken. Second case, PAC we have taken because this AC is at the secondary winding input side. So when this DC is only across the load resistance, but AC is at the input side. Input side nothing but input of the rectifier. So input of the rectifier will have, if you see the load from the secondary winding, the load will be RF plus RL. So input side, the load will be, diode also will be acting as a load on the transformer secondary. Therefore, the AC input is before the diode. When we are taking the load before the diode, the load resistance also will be coming into the picture. So the load resistance and the diode resistance and the load resistance both will be in series. Therefore, we have to take it as a RF plus RL. This is after the diode. This is after diode. After diode. This is before diode. This equation is before diode, PAC. Before diode only the input is AC. Okay. So I square RMS, IRMS square into RF plus RL. That IRMS is what again from third parameter, Im by 2. Im by 2 whole square if you do, Im square by 4 into RF plus RL. So this you keep it as equation number 2. Okay. So I hope you understood why PDC is taken RL, why PAC is taken RF plus RL. Okay, this is before the diode, where diode resistance also will be acting as a load, but load to the AC signal. But whereas PDC is taken across the load resistance only after the diode. DC is after diode. AC is before the diode. Okay, diode itself is converting AC to DC. Therefore, where is AC input side? Input side means before the diode. So when we are taking before the diode, the load will be both diode resistance as well as load resistance. But DC is obtained after the diode. The DC is obtained. Thereafter the diode, there will be only one resistor, that is RL. So therefore, PDC, when we are writing PDC, IDC square into RL, we have to write. When I am writing PAC, IRMS square into RF plus RL, we have to write. Okay. So this is before diode. The PDC is after the diode. Okay. Now these two equations 1 and 2 are there, right? These two equations you substitute in the definition. Therefore, efficiency eta is equal to PDC by PAC. So PDC numerator is first equation. PDC numerator is first equation. PAC denominator is second equation. Just to substitute them, then you will get Im square into RL by pi square into 4 by Im square into RL plus RF. Then Im square both will cancel. Then it will become 4 by pi square into RL by RL plus RF. You just multiply, divide numerator and denominator by RL, then you will get 1 by 1 plus RF by RL. Okay. Divide numerator and denominator by RL, then you will get 1 by 4 by pi square into 1 by 1 plus RF by RL. That is equal to 4 by pi square. If you calculate it, you will get it as 0.406. 0.406 by 1 plus RF by RL is the formula for efficiency. Generally, efficiency is calculated in terms of percentage. Percentage means you have to multiply that with 100. If you multiply that with 100, then percentage efficiency is equal to 40.6 by 1 plus RF by RL. Okay. theoretically, the maximum value of the rectifier efficiency of the half wave rectifier is 40.6% when RF by RL is equal to 0. Okay, so what is the efficiency of the half wave rectifier? It's 40.6% is the efficiency. That means 40.6% of AC input power is converted into the DC output power. That means this rectifier is converting AC to DC. So how much percentage of AC is converted to DC is 40.6% only is converted. Remaining approximately 60%, it is not able to convert AC to DC. That means the rectifier efficiency shows that how much of the AC input power is converted into the DC output power. So AC input power is able to convert to only 40% of the AC input power into the DC output power. That is what is the efficiency of this rectifier. 40.6%. The formula here is percentage regulation. A percentage rectifier efficiency is 40.6 by 1 plus RF by RL. Okay, very important formula. And how the procedure how to calculate is also very important. PDC by PAC. PDC we have to calculate, PAC we have to calculate, substitute them to get the overall efficiency. Okay. Then next parameter is ripple factor. Ripple factor is gamma, represented by gamma. So what is meant by ripple factor? The ratio of RMS value of AC component. The ratio of RMS value of the AC component in the output. So generally, output of the rectifier consists of both AC plus DC. Okay. Output of the rectifier consists of both AC and DC. Okay. So now AC plus DC is there. Now if you take this entire one, okay, entire AC plus DC, its RMS value is represented by IRMS. Okay, the RMS value of the output is nothing but it is a combination of both AC plus DC. The entire AC plus DC combination, the RMS value is IRMS. Okay, but if you take this AC portion only AC portion, its RMS value will be IRRMS. Okay, IRRMS. And if you take only DC part in the output, then we call that as IDC. I hope you understand these three terminologies. Very important here. Output is the combination of AC plus DC. AC plus DC. This complete is AC plus DC. That AC plus DC, the RMS value is denoted as IRMS. Similarly, we in voltages also you can write VRMS. If I'm writing in terms of currents means the same way you can write it for voltages also. IRMS is there, then VRMS. Voltage will be VRMS. IRRMS will be VRRMS. IDC will be VDC. So whatever I'm writing for currents, you can even represent that for voltages also. Okay. So output of the half wave rectifier or any rectifier you take, it will be AC plus DC. So the entire output, the RMS value is denoted by IRMS. Okay. Then output is having two components, right? AC and DC. Only AC if you take, only AC if you take, then the RMS value will be denoted as IRRMS, or sometimes we can even write this as I dash RMS. Okay, I dash RMS or IRRMS, both are same. Notations will be different, but both are same. Next, it is having only DC, pure DC may be there. DC part IDC. So output is a combination of AC plus DC. So entire combination, the RMS value is denoted as IRMS. In that entire combination of AC plus DC, only AC if you take, its RMS value is denoted as I dash RMS or IRRMS. So there is lot of difference between I dash RMS and IRMS. IRMS is the RMS value of the entire output, which is combination of AC plus DC. But if you take I dash RMS, it is just the RMS value of the AC only out of the entire AC plus DC. Now DC value is IDC. Simple. There is no confusion with respect to DC is IDC. But only thing is IRMS and I dash RMS or IRRMS. These two are different. IRMS and I dash RMS. So these two, how they are different is IRMS is RMS value of the entire combination of AC plus DC. I dash RMS is just RMS value of the AC component. So in this definition, the ratio of RMS value of AC component in the output means what you will get. RMS value of AC component in the output means I dash RMS. It is not IRMS. Okay. To the average or DC component in the output. Our average or DC component in the output is what? IDC. So you should understand these two terms very, very clearly. Very, very important this one. There will be a lot of confusion. Ripple factor is the ratio of RMS value of AC component in the output. Okay, that is what we denote it as I dash RMS. In the third step, what we calculate IRMS is that is different. It is a combination of AC plus DC. Third step we derived, right? IRMS is equal to IM by 2. That is the entire combination of AC plus DC, the RMS value, IRMS. Okay. Now here, RMS value of AC component in the output is I dash RMS. It is just pure AC's RMS value only we want here. To the average or DC component in the output is IDC. Now the definition of this one will be gamma is equal to, if you see this, I dash RMS by IDC. Okay, IDC. Now, what is the relationship between all these three? IRMS, I dash RMS, and IDC. Okay, it is just a combination of AC plus DC. Therefore, I can write it as IRMS is equal to under root of I dash RMS square plus IDC square. Okay. So RMS is a combination of I dash RMS and IDC. So if you take RMS value, nothing but again it is a square root mean square. So square root of both AC and DC components are there. Therefore, I have to add both of them. Therefore, I dash RMS square plus IDC square. So IRMS is equal to under root of I dash RMS square plus IDC square. This is what is the relationship between IRMS, I dash RMS, and IDC. Very, very important. I'll write this separately. So average or DC component of the output is IDC. Okay, so this is the relationship between IRMS, I dash RMS, and IDC. Okay, now if you substitute here, what I want actually is I dash RMS. How do you rearrange this equation which I have written in the square box so that I require I dash RMS? If you squaring on both sides, if you do IRMS square is equal to the square root will cancel. IRMS square is equal to I dash RMS square plus IDC square. Then I dash RMS is equal to under root of IRMS square minus IDC square. This plus IDC square, if you bring on the left hand side, then I dash RMS will become under root of IRMS square minus IDC square by denominator is IDC as it is. Okay, so that's what is written here. Gamma is equal to I have written I dash RMS is IRMS, both are same, notation is different. Okay, divided by IDC, that is equal to IRMS is equal to under root of IRMS square minus IDC square by IDC. If you apply denominator also under root and square, then take it inside, then the overall root will become IRMS by IDC whole square minus 1. This is IDC by IDC, both will become 1. So this is the formula. So we can write it as I dash RMS by IDC is one formula. Okay. Then in terms of IRMS and IDC will be this formula. Or in terms of voltages will be in place of IRMS we can write VRMS, and in place of IDC we can write VDC. So both we can write in terms of currents or in terms of voltages. Both will be same. Okay. Then we substitute those values. IRMS is what? IM by 2 numerator. Here this value I have to substitute. IRMS is IM by 2. IDC is what? IM by pi. These things we have calculated already in first step and third step. Third parameter, first parameter. IM by 2, IM by pi. Then we will get IM will cancel. Then it will become pi by 2 whole square minus 1. Pi by 2 whole square minus 1 under root will become gamma is equal to 1.21. 1.21 nothing but what? Ripple factor 1.21 means, so 1.21 indicates that much of the that is the ratio. That is the ratio to the RMS value AC to the DC. So AC to the DC portion is 1.21 gamma ripple factor. So that means if the ripple factor value is large, that is nothing but it has got more AC component present in the output, which is actually disadvantage for the rectifier. Rectifier, what it has to do actually, it should have more DC, less AC. But here it is having more AC than the DC. So it is 1.21 nothing but more AC portion is there in the output because the ripple factor value is large. So if the ripple factor is less, if it is 0 ideally, then it will be perfect AC to DC conversion. But it is not converting pure form of DC. Definitely your ripple factor will not be 0. It will be something, but it should be as less as possible to have a more amount of DC present in the output than the AC. Okay, so gamma is equal to 1.21 is the value that we got it for half wave rectifier. Large value, that is ideally should be 0. Ideally should be 0 to get the pure DC, but it is not getting pure DC, therefore it should be as close as 0. It is 1.21 means large, which is a disadvantage. Okay, next parameter is transformer utilization factor. Very, very important. Transformer utilization factor means it is the ratio of DC output power divided by AC rated input power, AC rated power of the transformer. So the DC power to be delivered to the load in a rectifier circuit decides the rating of the transformer used in the circuit. So the transformer utilization factor is denoted as PDC divided by PAC rated. Okay. So PDC divided by PAC rated means the factor which indicates the utilization of the transformer in the process of rectification is called transformer utilization factor, and this value should be as high as possible so that a maximum utilization of the transformer will be done in the conversion process of AC to DC by the rectifier. So the ripple factor should be as small as possible, but transformer utilization factor should be as high as possible. Even efficiency also should be as high as possible. So efficiency we got 40%, but efficiency should be as high as possible. It should be more close to 100%. Then only the AC, the more amount of AC power is converted into DC power. Ripple factor should be as small as possible because it should not have any AC content. If the AC content is there, then the ripple factor will be large. So ripple factor should be as small as possible. Ideally should be 0. Efficiency should be as high as possible. Ideally should be 100%. And transformer utilization factor also should be as high as possible. Okay, so these are all the ideal values and actual values that you are getting for the half-wave rectifier. Now according to this definition, transformer utilization factor is equal to PDC, output DC power, divided by PAC rated. Okay, so what is the difference between PAC rated and PAC? Even your efficiency is also efficiency eta is equal to PDC divided by PAC. Okay, and transformer utilization factor is PDC divided by PAC rated. So the numerators in both the cases are same, efficiency and transformer utilization factor. Numerators are same, PDC, output DC power, but denominator in the efficiency is PAC, denominator in the transformer utilization factor is PAC rated. So there is a difference between PAC and PAC rated. If you understand this, then you will not have any confusion between efficiency and transformer utilization factor. Okay, so what is that difference? We'll now see. The DC power delivered to the load, PDC, is IDC square into RL, that is called IM by pi whole square. The same thing we have used it in the efficiency calculation also. Okay, that you can keep it as equation number 1. That we can directly substitute as a denominator in the numerator here in this case. Now, AC power rating of the transformer is PAC rated is equal to VRMS into IRMS. This is just simple definition. PAC is equal to VRMS into IRMS. AC power, if you want, AC voltage multiplied by AC current. Now what is VRMS and IRMS if you calculate? Next slide. PAC rated is VRMS into IRMS. Now we have to calculate what is VRMS, what is IRMS. That actually differs. What is PAC rated and PAC? That we'll see the difference. I hope you understood PDC. PDC is same, IDC square into RL, IM by pi whole square into RL. PAC rated, the definition is power is equal to voltage into current. So PAC rated is equal to VRMS into IRMS. Now we'll substitute what is Vrms and IRMS in this formula. Now the secondary voltage. Okay. So PAC, AC is nothing but what across the secondary winding. That's why we call that as secondary voltage. So the secondary voltage is pure sinusoidal. Secondary voltage nothing but what the voltage across the secondary winding is also sinusoidal. So its RMS value is what sine waveform. So sine waveform RMS value you might have studied in BWE. Okay, sine waveform. If you take whether it is voltage or current, whatever it may be, voltage or current, the RMS value of the sine waveform is Vm by root 2. Okay, Vm by root 2. Vm by root 2. So therefore, the secondary voltage is purely sinusoidal. Hence, its RMS value is Vrms is equal to Vm by root 2. Okay. So the input voltage is full sine waveform, but when the that input full sine waveform is applied to the rectifier circuit, what happens? The current will be flowing only for half sine waveform, because the other half sine waveform the current will be zero because it is reverse biased. So while the current is half sinusoidal, hence its RMS value is IRMS is equal to Im by 2. So when I am taking the voltage, Vrms is equal to Vm by root 2, because it is a full sine waveform. But when I am taking the current, this is the voltage signal that is applied at the primary secondary of the voltage. So but when I am taking the current, because without connecting any diode, suppose if you don't connect any diode, the voltage is Vrms is equal to Vm by root 2, current is also IRMS is equal to Im by root 2. But if I connect a diode will be making the current not to flow full cycle, but it is restricting to flow only for half cycle. Now, when I am connecting the diode, voltages and currents are not same. But if I remove the diode, voltage and current are same. For example, if you take the sinusoidal waveform across the secondary winding, the Vrms is Vm by root 2 and IRMS is equal to Im by root 2. Both will be similar. Both will be for full sine waveform. IRMS is Im by root 2, Vrms is Vm by root 2. But when I connect the diode to the secondary winding, what happens? The current is changing. It is not completely flowing in full cycle. It is making the current to flow only in half cycle. Other half cycle it will be zero. Under that case, the RMS value will be different. RMS value of the half wave rectifier is Im by 2. Therefore, now when I am applying the input voltage is same. Therefore, I will not write both V and I here. V is same. IRMS is changing. It's not Im by root 2. So the current is voltage is full cycle, but the current if you take I is omega t. If I take it's only half cycle, the other half is 0, from 0 to pi to 2 pi, 0 to pi to 2 pi, 0. Now in this case, IRMS is equal to, because it is half wave rectifier, it is Im by 2. Okay. Now PAC rated is actually Vrms into PAC rated is Vrms into IRMS. Okay. Therefore, Vrms plus we are writing Vm by root 2, because it is full sine wave from input voltage I am applying. But when the diode is there, diode current will be flowing for only half cycle out of the full cycle. Therefore, current I have to take it as half cycle. Voltage is full cycle, current is half cycle. So Vrms and IRMS are not both same for full cycle. Vrms is for full cycle, IRMS is for half cycle. Therefore, the PAC rated is Vrms into IRMS is equal to Vm by root 2 for full cycle into Im by 2 for half cycle. Therefore, it will become Vm Im by 2 root 2. So that is the difference between PAC and PAC rated and PAC. PAC will be without connecting this diode, both Vm by root 2 and Im by root 2. But PAC rated will be Vm by root 2 into Im by 2. Okay, so that is the difference. Then what we will get, that means we will be taking PAC rated as Vm by root 2 for full sine waveform. Okay. Then Vm by 2, Vm into Im by 2 root 2. Then PDC by P. Now both you substitute. This is second equation. First equation was in the previous slide. That is Im by pi whole square into RL for PDC. PAC is rated will be now Vm Im by 2 root 2. Now if you substitute both here in the formula, TUF is equal PDC by PAC rated, then Im square by Im by pi whole square into RL into 2 root 2 by Vm Im. Then you will get Im square into RL into 2 root 2 by pi square into, now you convert this Vm. Vm is equal to Im into RL. So just I will get Im square into RL. You will get, just write down Vm is equal to Im into RL. Then you will get this one. Numerator Im square RL will cancel. 2 root 2 by pi square will become 0.287. Therefore, the transformer utilization factor is 0.287. That is meaning what? The value of the TUF is low, which shows that the half wave circuit, in the half wave circuit, the transformer is not fully utilized. It is 0.287. Okay. 0.287 means, if you take this example, you understand. If the transformer rating is, suppose transformer is 1 kilovolt ampere transformer, 1000 volt ampere transformer, then the half wave rectifier can deliver 1000 into 0.287. It is equal to 287 watt. Okay. 1000 watt is this one. 1000 volt ampere, nothing but what? 1000 watt. Out of the transformer rating of 1000 watt, 287 watt only is delivered to the load, resistive load, through the half wave rectifier. That means what? The transformer, actually the rating is 1000 watt. This 1000 watt can be utilized completely to convert to be used in the half wave rectifier to convert it into DC output power. But only 287 watt of the DC power is converted to the output. So it is used 287 watt of out of 1000 watt is only used in the process of conversion of AC to DC to the resistive load. That means transformer utilization factor is low. That is also one of the disadvantage. That means the completely the transformer is not utilized fully. So only 287 watt is only utilized in the process of conversion. Other part will be of no use. Therefore, that means the transformer is not fully utilized in the process of conversion. So that's what is this one. So transformer utilization factor also should be high. High means it should be maximum value should be 1. Ideally, it should be 1. If you take 1 kilovolt ampere, then it is 1000 watt. 1000 watt into 1 will be 1000 watt, completely utilized 1000 watt. In place of 0.287, if you get 1, then 1000 into 1 will be 1000 watt. So the rating of the transformer is 1000 watt. All the 1000 watt is completely utilized here. So therefore, the transformer utilization factor ideal value should be 1. But here in this case of half wave rectifier, it is 0.287, which is low, is a disadvantage because the transformer is not completely utilized. It should be more close to 1 or more close to 1. It should be high, close to 1. Then only it will be effectively utilized. Okay, that is transformer utilization factor. Very, very important. Next is regulation. Regulation nothing but the variation of DC output voltage as a function of DC load current. That's what I told, right? Output voltage is a function of load current, input voltage, and temperature. All these three are there. Okay. So what I said, ideally output voltage should be independent of all these three. Then only it will be a perfect regulator. But now we are seeing only the variation of load by ignoring these two, Vi and T. If you take only output voltage is a function of load current, then we call that as a regulation. So how output voltage will be dependent on the load current. When the load is 0, what happens? When the load is full, what happens? Those DC values we have to calculate, and we have to calculate the percentage voltage regulation. If the percentage voltage regulation, when the load is 0 or load is full, if the both voltages are same, then we call that as an ideal regulator. So that means percentage load regulation should be 0. Then only it is ideal regulator. Otherwise, it should be more close to 0. So now what we'll see is the variation of VDC with IDC for a half wave rectifier is obtained like this. So how this VDC and IDC are related, then that we will be calculating. So IDC is equal to Im by pi. We already calculated this. IDC is equal to Im by pi. But Im in terms of Vm, if you calculate, Vm by pi into Rf plus RL. This equation you already know. First one, IDC is called Im by pi, but Im is equal to Vm by Rf plus RL. We already know this relationship, therefore we are just substituting there. But VDC is equal to IDC into RL. We already know VDC is equal to IDC into RL, Ohm's law. Now IDC, if you substitute this first equation, this is second equation. First equation in place of IDC, if you substitute in the second equation, then VDC is equal to Vm by pi into RL by Rf plus RL. That is equal to, if you take, if you just simplify this and rearrange, Vm by pi into 1 minus Rf by Rf plus RL. So that means just numerator, you add and subtract Rf. Okay, add and subtract Rf, then you will get Rf 1 minus Rf by Rf plus RL. Then Vm by pi minus Vm by, if you multiply this Vm by pi inside, Vm by pi minus Vm by pi into Rf by Rf plus RL. Then if you just use the first equation again, you will get Vm by pi into Rf plus RL as IDC. So IDC into Rf you will get. So this is the formula which gives the relationship between VDC and IDC, between VDC and IDC, because I want how this variation of VDC and IDC is taking place. That is actually determining the regulation. Okay, so this equation relates you VDC and IDC. So VDC is called Vm by pi minus IDC into Rf. Okay, now what we will do is we will calculate for no load what happens, full load is what happens. So we will calculate what is VDC no load, what is VDC no load, and what is VDC full load, and thereby how the percentage regulation is calculated. Okay, so voltage regulation is a factor which indicates the change in the DC output voltage, as load changes. DC output voltage is nothing but VDC, as load changes nothing but IDC. How these two are related, how IDC changes, how VDC changes when IDC changes from no load to full load. So no load is one condition, full load is one condition. Okay, so VDC no load is nothing but DC voltage with no load, and VDC full load is nothing but DC voltage with full load. So what is that actually? VDC no load and VDC full load will calculate. So VDC no load means when IDC is equal to 0. So load is not there, nothing but what? It is open circuit. Open circuit, nothing but the current will be 0. So when IDC is equal to 0, we call that as VDC no load. So VDC no load is equal to simply what is that? We'll get IDC is equal to 0 if you make Vm by pi. Vm by pi. Okay. VDC full load is nothing but some current will be flowing. So VDC full load is Vm by pi minus IDC into what is that? This formula RF. Then you substitute both of them here. Therefore, regulation is equal to, I write voltage regulation is R. R is equal to Vm by pi minus Vm by pi minus to minus plus IDC into RF by Vm by pi minus IDC into RF. But this VDC full load, from where we derived that VDC full load can also be written as VDC full load can be written as IDC into RL. From there only we derived that equation. So from this equation only we got this final equation, third equation. So VDC can be written as IDC into RL also. Therefore, this denominator, instead of writing Vm by pi minus IDC RF, which was derived actually from the base equation is IDC into RL. Okay. Therefore, R is equal to, these two will cancel. IDC also will cancel. Simply RF by RL. Then your percentage regulation will become multiplied by 100. RF by RL into 100. Okay. So the basic formula is this one. For half-wave rectifier, if you substitute all these things, then you will get percentage regulation is equal to RF by RL into 100. Okay. So that is the thing. That is about percentage regulation. Now, generally, ideally, this percentage regulation value should be equal to 0. because VDC no load should be equal to VDC full load. That means with whatever it may be load, both should be equal. This is when IDC is equal to 0. This is when IDC is equal to 0. No load means is equal to 0. This is when IDC is not equal to 0. Some current is flowing. So, but actually VDC should be independent of IDC. Okay. VDC should be independent of IDC. Whether IDC is 0 or IDC is not equal to 0, both voltages should be same. It should be independent. If both are same, what happens? This is 0, this is 0. The numerator will become 0. So numerator is 0. VDC full load is IDC. Some current will be flowing in the denominator, but numerator is completely 0. So 0 by something will be this. 0 by IDC into RL will be there. That is 0. So ideally, the regulation should be 0, or it should be practically more close to 0. Okay, that will be your best regulation value. Then next topic will be peak inverse voltage. Next parameter is peak inverse voltage. Peak inverse voltage is nothing but what? The maximum reverse voltage. Peak inverse voltage is nothing but maximum reverse voltage that a diode can withstand without destroying the junction. It is almost like a reverse voltage. If you reverse voltage keep on increasing, what happens? The reverse voltage keep on increasing. The diode having its reverse saturation current, and that will be constant, and it is dependent only on temperature but not on the voltage. But if you keep on increasing that reverse voltage, at one voltage called breakdown voltage, breakdown occurs, and the charge carriers will be, majority charge carriers will be crossing the junction, and suddenly the current will be increasing, or the carriers will be multiplied. Carrier multiplication takes place. Therefore, large amount of carriers will be generated across the junction, and those will be creating a large amount of current to flow, which will be destroying the junction. So, which we call it as the voltage which can withstand without destroying the junction. Otherwise, breakdown occurs, then lot of majority charge, the charge carriers will be generated, and that will be creating a large amount of current to flow. So it is defined as the maximum reverse voltage that a diode can withstand without destroying the junction. So the peak inverse voltage across the diode is the peak of the negative reverse. Generally, reverse voltage is nothing but what? Negative voltage. So in this case, for a half wave rectifier, when you are giving input voltage as a full sine waveform, AC sine waveform, then the negative peak of the cycle will be the peak inverse voltage. So the negative peak of the cycle will be calculated like this for the circuit. When I am applying negative cycle, the minus is here for across the secondary, plus is here, Vm. So negative cycle I am applying, therefore the polarities are written only for the negative cycle of the input. Therefore minus plus Vm here, and the across the diode this will be minus plus. The diode will be open circuited, and the voltage across that is represented as minus plus V. And because the diode is open circuited, this is open because the diode is reverse biased, right? Diode is reverse biased. Therefore, diode is off. Off means open circuited. Open. Diode is reverse biased. And when the diode is reverse biased, what will be the current? Current is 0. If the current is 0, what will be the output voltage? I is I into R, that is 0 voltage. So output voltage across the load resistor R is 0. Current is 0. But the voltage at the input side is negative cycle is minus plus Vm. And the voltage across the diode is minus plus V. I have written. That's what is peak inverse voltage, which we have to calculate. So by applying the KVL to this loop, you will get it as minus Vm plus PIV is equal to 0. Therefore, PIV is equal to Vm you will get. That means whatever the voltage that is across the secondary winding, negative peak voltage, the same peak voltage maximum value will be appearing across the diode. Therefore, peak inverse voltage is equal to Vm. So the peak inverse voltage is equal to peak value of the negative half cycle, which is equal to Vm. Okay. Very, very simple. Next, last almost we have finished. Form factor and peak factor, two parameters are there. Form factor F is defined as F is equal to RMS value by average value. It is the definition. Form factor is the ratio of RMS value by average value. It can be voltage or current, whatever it may be. I have taken here current. You can take voltage as Vm by 2 and Im by Vm by pi. Both Vm will cancel. In the case of current also, Im by 2, Im by pi, Im will cancel. Then it will become F is equal to 1.57 is the form factor. Next definition of form factor is RMS value by average value. Next, peak factor. Peak factor P is defined as P is equal to peak value by RMS value. Peak value is Vm, RMS value is Vm by 2. We can take even in the currents also, Im by Im by 2. Im will cancel, or Vm will cancel. In the peak factor will be 2. Okay, so peak factor is 2, form factor is 1.57. So these are all the parameters for the half wave rectifier. Then the last slide will be on disadvantages. So we have observed so many disadvantages when we are calculating the things. The ripple factor is high. How much we got it for this? 1.21. Ripple factor is high. And circuit has very low efficiency. How much is that? 40.6% is the rectifier efficiency, very low. Okay, the circuit has low utilization. Transformer utilization factor is how much? 0.287. Okay, so that is also very low. So transformer utilization factor is low, efficiency is low, ripple factor is high. These all are the disadvantages of half wave rectifier. Therefore, this particular circuit is not used in practical real-time applications. We have to go with a full wave rectifier, either with center tap transformer or with a bridge rectifier. So half wave rectifier is generally not used in the regulated power supplies. That is what is the conclusion because of all these disadvantages. Okay, so with this the analysis of half wave rectifier is over.